Hey everyone, off the Mike Sports Network here. We are breaking down the Cleveland Browns after 17 weeks. The Browns are 3-13. They get blown out at home. It was very evident in this game against the Miami Dolphins that they were not trying to win. God bless Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I said it on Browns Thoughts last week. Love the kid. Love the heart. Love the determination that he has. He's not an NFL quarterback. And trotting him out there has significantly hampered this offense. They can't move the ball. He can make some plays with his legs, but he can't make any significant throws. It was not a pretty game from an offensive standpoint. And then the Dolphins, without their starting quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, ironically, Tyler Huntley, who was on the Browns roster before the season, leads who's a former Pro Bowl quarterback, ironically. Don't ask me how that ever became a thing. I like Tyler Huntley, but the Dolphins win this game. They're still alive for a playoff spot, potentially, if some things go their way. So the Browns, in a weird way, kind of screwed the Bengals. But the more important thing here is due to some other results throughout the day, which include the Giants, for some reason, needing a quarterback, the Giants go out and win a game, and the Colts losing that game is a whole separate issue. So the Giants win. The Raiders win again, which takes them out of any reasonable quarterback circumstance. Maybe they go get a veteran quarterback. That's an issue. The Jags and the Titans played each other. The Jags win that game, so the Titans are still in position. The Patriots lost on Saturday to the Chargers. So really what it looks like right now is the Cleveland Browns, if the season were to have ended under normal circumstances after 17 games, the Cleveland Browns would be picking third in this draft, which means that if you know anything about this draft, the two best quarterbacks in this draft, and I've talked about it here on the channel before, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Those Browns need a quarterback. It's very evident that they need one. I don't know if they're going to go in this draft. I think this is the wrong draft to tank for a quarterback. If you're a Browns fan and you think you're looking at CJ Stroud and thinking that this could be a one-year turnaround, I like Cam Ward. Personally, I actually like Cam Ward more than Shedeur Sanders because Shedeur just brings a lot of drama to this organization that's already got a ton of it. So frankly, I just don't think Deion Sanders is going to let his son go to Cleveland. I think this is going to be an Eli Manning situation, and they're going to, or a John Elway situation, and we're just going to maneuver and manipulate the draft to get to Shedeur to his desired destination, which would not be Cleveland, which in some ways may actually benefit the Browns because they need a lot of help. They don't need a quarterback. If it were up to me, I would prefer Cam Ward. I just don't know if you're picking that high, if that's worth your while. Because if you're a Browns fan, and I've seen a lot of fanboy accounts, they know who they are. They're just trying to bait and, be these grifters who are just like trying to be all positive, like everything's all right after they're trying to change their narratives throughout the season and saying, yeah, you know what, we should be tanking right now. It's like, you guys were saying this team was going to go to the Super Bowl. We knew the season was doomed, like, in the first 6 snaps of the season when Deshaun Watson was scared to throw the ball 20 yards down the field. Like, that's the biggest problem here. And we'll get to some of the what the core issues are as we get towards the off season. But when it comes to the draft, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, 2 things need to happen. Number 1, they need to fire Andrew Berry. I've been saying that for about a month now. You cannot have Andrew Berry having control of maybe the most important draft pick that you've had in almost a decade. I would say 17 and 18 were 2 of the most important draft picks. They got Myles Garrett right. They did, to some degree, get Baker Mayfield right, but then they let him go. And I can argue with Browns fans until I'm blue in the face. The Browns were justified in moving off of Baker Mayfield. I think it's wonderful that he has become a phenomenal top 10 level quarterback, borderline MVP candidate with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season. So I think that's awesome. The Browns needed to move off of him. It was not working. He had a shoulder reconstruction, whether that was why the downward decline happened in 2021. He needed to be humbled. He needed to go to multiple destinations to ultimately get to the spot where he is. So that's the part of it. So Andrew Berry, back to my initial point, Andrew Berry needs to go. He should not be making this pick, no matter where it is. If the Browns win somehow next week against the Ravens, which I don't think they will, it got flexed. It got moved out to Saturday. The Browns are going to get a standalone game to end the season. When's the last time that ever happened? It was against the Ravens, I think about 6 years ago when they had a standalone game by themselves. So the Browns are in a position there, like they're going to probably tank. I wouldn't be shocked if Bailey Zappi is the one who gets the start. There's nothing to play for here. DTR, I mean, if you really want to tank, you could throw DTR out there. Jameis Winston ain't going to play. So, like, it's just, look, the point is the Browns are going to probably finish the season 3-14. And if that happens, unless stuff in front of them goes a certain way, the Titans are playing a Texans team that really has nothing to play for. So they could end up picking as high as 2. But regardless of the situation, if the New England Patriots hold the number 1 pick, and there's a very strong possibility that they do, although they're playing a Bills team that's clinched everything, and they've got their positioning is determined, they may rest people. So if the order stays as it is, Patriots 1, and then Titans 2, Browns 3, the Browns are going to get a chance to swing it at quarterback if they want, because Travis Hunter is going to go to the Patriots. I think that if the Patriots are picking number 1, they are not picking a quarterback. They took Drake May last year for a reason, and I think it would be stupid to give up on Drake May after just a season in the books. I would say Drake May, and then it would be Shedeur or Cam Ward would go second. And if it's the Browns, who knows? Maybe they want to take a run. But I want somebody different evaluating quarterbacks. I'm done with Andrew Berry. Whether it was his responsibility or not with the Deshaun Watson deal, he's the general manager. He's the one picking the players. If it was Jimmy Haslam, okay, you can't fire him. Somebody has got to take the fall for what transpired this season, because they made so many fundamental errors in what they were doing in terms of how they schemed the offense, how they brought in a different play caller. They changed schemes on offensively, and it just none of it made any sense. It was more shotgun based for Deshaun Watson when this team was a really good run based offense and more play action. They took a lot of the stuff that made them successful last year away. And you only started to see this offense do better, ironically, when Deshaun Watson was out of the game, off this team, and you went to Jameis Winston, who was the complete opposite of Deshaun in wanting to take chances. So I really question the evaluation process of Andrew Berry, whether that was through Jimmy Haslam or not. Somebody has got to take the fall for this. Somebody said this on the internet. If Andrew Berry's still employed, that tells me that whole decision with Deshaun Watson was 100% from ownership. But I do think that Andrew Berry played a role, because the other part of this is that Andrew Berry has not, outside of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, what the hell is Andrew Berry drafted since he got into the NFL? He's made some nice trades. He got Amari Cooper on the cheap. He got Jerry Jeudy on the cheap. Good. But he's made a lot of fundamental mistakes. First big draft pick that he had, Jed Wills, bust. They took Greg Newsome. I don't know what to think of Greg Newsome. When they could have taken JOK. And the only reason they took Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in the second round is because he kept falling down the board for whatever reason. And I don't know if JOK is going to play anymore, because I think he has some sort of spinal injury, and I'm wondering if he's going to be able to play football again. It was a nasty collision that knocked him out effectively for the season. So Andrew Berry has not nailed any draft really since he came into the league since he started with this team and came with Kevin Stefanski in 2020. So a lot of people are going to want to fire Kevin Stefanski because the discipline of this team has been lacking, but the ship was sailed when you made these staff changes, which I refuse to believe were Kevin Stefanski's idea. You don't fire, even though Kevin Stefanski was calling plays, you don't fire your offensive coordinator after you go 11-6 with a 4th string quarterback. You don't do that. You don't get rid of your running backs coordinator when you go 11-6. You don't change all of these pieces on your offensive staff. You don't change the offense. To some degree, I can understand why you want to cater more to Deshaun Watson, but the evidence was already there that he wasn't close to the guy that you were traded for. So why would you go all in and double down on it? The only answer to that question is, hey, we paid him this inordinate sum of money. And we talked about it earlier late last week about the restructure. They're keeping him on the roster, but he ain't playing again. There's going to, whether it's a draft pick, and if they want to take a pick up top, then that's fine. But I first thing is, when it comes to the evaluation process, there needs to be somebody else evaluating. DePodesta needs to be gone. Paul DePodesta needs to be gone. Andrew Berry needs to be gone. They need a new voice to analyze if they're going to pick a quarterback. That is the first thing fundamentally. Then when you go through the evaluation process, and we'll talk about this during the offseason once we get there, You've got to evaluate the free agency class because I think Kirk Cousins is going to be out there. There's been rumors about Aaron Rodgers. No thanks. I don't want to touch Aaron Rodgers with a 10-foot pole. I would not touch him at all. That is a disaster waiting to happen. If you think Deshaun Watson was a mess or any of the other circus acts that they've had in that city, Aaron Rodgers ain't the answer. I promise you that. Okay. So you evaluate the veteran quarterback options. If you don't like those, you take a look at these two QBs. And if you're picking third, you're going to get a choice of whatever the Titans or in front of, or whoever's in front of you. And if somebody trades ahead with the Patriots, who's to say that that doesn't happen? If you don't like either one of these quarterbacks, get the hell out of there and get more picks because there's a bunch of shit that you need. But one thing that I am not going to tolerate from Browns fans on the internet is acting like, oh, Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders is going to come to Cleveland and do what Jaden Daniels did with the Washington Commanders this year or what CJ Stroud did with the Texans. That ain't happening. These quarterbacks would not be taken in the same league. I like Cam Ward. Shedeur Sanders, he's an acquired taste. I don't like his attitude, but he's a talented player. But there are flaws with both of them. And the reason why they are up high is this was the one quarterback class that you did not want to tank for. The one that the Browns made the playoffs in the year that you would have wanted to tank for a quarterback. Okay? So for Deshaun Watson to have this happen, it's almost like it's just a shit Sunday on top of this just disaster of an organization because they are in a lot of trouble. And I don't know what's going to happen with Myles Garrett. Again, all of these pieces of front office and, executive movement need to be involved with a different individual. They need to bring somebody else into this building. I've said before, somebody is going to need to answer for a 3-14 season. Somebody is going to have to answer for that. And to me, it's not Kevin Stefanski, the two-time coach of the year, even though he has had a really, really bad season. A lot of it is not his fault. He did have some issues in terms of discipline in this team, but they started off on the wrong foot when they overhauled the whole staff. They changed the scheme. They changed the offense. They did all this thing. And then front office tries to go get Brandon Ayuk. Amari Cooper's checked out. Nick Chubb was out for most of the season. He didn't come back and the offense didn't work for him. It's just like, it was a glorified mess. And we all missed the boat on a lot of this team this year, but there needs to be new voices in here. I'd give Kevin Stefanski another chance just because I don't think there's a better option out there. And Kevin Stefanski would get swooped up by another one of these organizations, whether it's the Jets, the Bears, whoever would scoop him up in a second. Like, it's like, you just don't do that. Like, I understand that it's like I said, you're at 3-13. You're probably going to be 3-14, but there's no reason to do that. But seriously, you guys need to get over yourselves. Because you all were talking Super Bowl, and then 6 weeks in, you were ready to punt on Deshaun Watson. I've been telling you for 2 years that was going to be a disaster. And, I was fooled into it when they made the trade for him, but it was a dumb idea. And they're paying the price for it right now. But you could see the writing on the wall through training camp. There were beat reporters and everybody that this season was not going to go well. And now you guys want to act like, okay, we're magically going to get a rookie quarterback to come in here. And if you think Shedeur Sanders is even thinking of coming to Cleveland, you are delusional. Like, it would be fine to have him there because at least he can throw the football better than anything that I saw this season. He ain't coming to Cleveland. You kidding me? With his dad, as powerful as he is, and Deion Sanders, no way that happens. Cam Ward, a lot of people are still mad about him sitting out a bowl game. And believe me, I will get to that later here on the channel because that was a divisive topic over the weekend in the world of college football. I like Cam Ward. I got to be around him a couple of years at Pac-12 Media Days when he was at Washington State. He's a nice kid, very talented, but he has got a lot of, stuff that he needs to be coached out of him. He is very schoolyard, backyard, and that's just not what this team needs. He doesn't feel like the quarterback that the Browns need. So that's what I think, but who the hell am I? I'm just an idiot, doing a radio show in my apartment right now. Like, I'm just an idiot speaking nonsense to some of you, and some of you people call me an idiot all the time. And thank you all for the subscribers. Even the ones who call me an idiot, I appreciate the interaction. But they need a football voice. It's been 4 or 5 years. You've got to move on. And again, if it were me, I would definitely consider trading back and getting more picks because There's nothing in here that's going to be a quick fix. It's not Caleb Williams. It's not Jaden Daniels. It's not Bo Nix. And you don't. And I don't think you're gonna unless Kevin Stefanski thinks one of these quarterbacks is going to work, and he's your coach. It's like you got to go with a veteran stopgap. I understand that there's pieces on this team that you got to convince that you're going to win, like a Myles Garrett. I don't think this team with any of these rookie quarterbacks or even a bridge is close to competing in the AFC this year or next year. Like, they're far off. That contract and that trade has set this organization back at least 5 to 10 years. So thank you, Deshaun Watson, for hoodwinking all of us. Thank you, Jimmy Haslam, for being a terrible owner in the holiday season. I cannot be thankful for you. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Y'all suck. This has been an embarrassing season. I felt so weird watching this game against the Dolphins that I was rooting for this team to lose. I thought we were past this. So y'all should be embarrassed. And the fans that were acting like this was going to be some sort of Super Bowl creation after last season, when you saw all the stuff that was going on in the offseason and saw that Deshaun Watson's got nothing left, shame on you. You all are full of shit too, because I'm sick of this. Like, everybody acting like, oh, it's just going to automatically be a quick fix with Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. These guys are not at the level of the guys of the last 2 years that have changed organizations. There is no franchise changer in this draft. I would be happy with Cam Ward. I think he's a talented kid. I think there's ways you can coach it out of him. But if you're expecting something to change in a year, I don't know what to tell you. So those are my Browns thoughts. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys real soon. Bye-bye.